Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your hearts. We are officially 5 of 5 for our Crypto Curious podcast series. The feedback has been slow, but it has been sweet. I know a lot of people are not ready for the crypto conversations, but I'm happy. Oh, we should have called it Crypto Conversations. Actually, what if
That's
we
the
do
next
another series?
podcast.
That's the next one. We start off with Crypto Curious, and then we're going to get into Crypto Conversations. Who you just heard laughing right now is my ever faithful, amazing, brilliant crypto co-host. What is up with all my C's this week? Daniel, welcome back to episode 5.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I am super excited to kind of like see this huge crescendo this episode. Like we're here and we're like tying everything up. We're gonna tie up all these loose ends and we're gonna get people on their good old way to, into the universe of crypto.
I absolutely love it. Okay, so we've gone through many iterations 4 times over, but now we're going to get into episode 5 when we get into NFTs and your business. So the reason why we're so passionate about educating business owners is we want to know how NFTs will impact now or in the very near future a business. So I want to close out this series with how you can make monies by monies. Yes, multiple money. Get those monies. You can make money by creating NFTs. So there are a couple listener questions that we didn't get an opportunity to answer in episode 4. Do you mind if I start there and then we can dive into other topics?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is from Esther. Where can I see somebody's wallet or what they've purchased on the blockchain? I'm an OpenSea and I can't find Jasmine.
Right. So it's not as easy as just like a Google search where you just like type in Jasmine Star and then someone else's wallet will pop up. It's a little bit more than that. So remember how we were talking about wallet addresses, right? That's actually what you have to look it up with. And now, so it's kind of like, yes, technically Ethereum is an open network that anyone can read, but you don't really know who these wallets belong to unless someone's telling you who owns it. So
Esther can't find my wallet.
Yeah, she technically can't find your wallet easily because you haven't like said the wallet address out loud. There are easier ways to identify wallet addresses. There are things like what's called ENS. So Ethereum Name Service is the name of this organization. And they actually distribute domain names in a decentralized way on the Ethereum blockchain. So you could have like jasminestar.eth. And I can send like Ethereum to that address.
Why don't I have that right now?
Oh, you better buy it now then.
Oh my gosh. Wait. So why would people not do that?
Sometimes it's just the cost. Cause I mean, right now with fees, it could be cost prohibitive. Like it could be like up to $150.
Got it. Okay.
To get like a longer name. If you want to get a shorter name, you're looking at $600.
Like a shorter name. Like what's a shorter name? Like
shorter name would be like 3 letters. Yeah, like ETH.ETH. I mean,
oh my God, I just came up with that. Are you so impressed? You're like, you said 3 letters and I said ETH at the same time. So I said ETH.ETH. Okay. That could be up to 6,000. Okay. So mental note, I want to go buy jasminestar.eth. We'll see. We'll see if it's available. And at the time of this recording, people will keep me accountable because then they can creep on what's my wallet. I have to let people know it's rather unimpressive. I've been watching the game and I'm just slowly putting it out there. Okay. Wow. This is cool. All right. So that was Esther's big question. And now we know about the NFS.
ENS. Yeah. ENS. Ethereum Name Service.
You're right. You're right. Ethereum Name Service, ENS. Okay. Another question from Esther that went unanswered is how can I trust a bunch of people on the interplanetary file system to keep the record of my NFT than Google or Dropbox?
Absolutely. So actually, this is like a topic that is currently running in the community. Everyone is still trying to figure out what is the best way to handle this. Right now, there are people that donate hard drive space to the cause. Like it's just out of like the bottom of their hearts. So like, here you go, you get to store your data on my hard drive. And in fact, there are actually entire organizations that are built around providing free storage on the IPFS network. The current solutions we're looking at right now is finding a way to like actually incentivize people to hold this data. So basically like you hold this amount of data, you're going to get this amount of money. And what better way to handle that in the crypto space than with cryptocurrencies? So if you're holding this much data, you're going to get this many coins. One of the solutions out there right now, and is one of the most popular because it's built by the same people that built IPFS, is Filecoin. So you would use Filecoin to pay people to host your data on IPFS.
Similarly to how I pay Dropbox.
Exactly.
Got it.
You get to have like the decentralized component to it. So you get to have all the perks.
Interesting. Okay. So that kind of dovetails into a couple questions that Melanie had asked. So I'm going to dive right into those. If centralized storage like iCloud and Dropbox were developed at a time when regular people were losing data because they had to stay responsible for it on their own hard drives, etc., is some part of decentralizing moving back in that direction where data storage is in a way less dependable?
I wouldn't put it that way. Like I can see how it can look like that. But comparing people having to keep their hard drives safe compared to the risks of like Web3 data hosting are not exactly the same. Because we're still not responsible for safeguarding our data in Web3. The only thing you have to protect in Web3 is your wallet secret. Basically, you just need to treat it like a very important password. If you remember, we were talking about it in the previous episodes. Every wallet has a public address and a private address. That private address is your secret passcode. It's what lets you like send money, all of those things. Versus public address is what people can send money to. It's how people can identify you, right? I actually want to reframe that concept too. So in the same way that we were able to trust iCloud and Dropbox to store our data and take that responsibility off of our shoulders so that we don't have to worry about losing our data, we can actually trust decentralized networks like Ethereum to store our data, or like IPFS, right? And as users of Web3, we get the perks of services like Dropbox, which is keeping our data safe. Like, we don't have to, it doesn't have to weigh on us, with the perks of having our data on a hard drive, which the perk there is obviously you get to own your data. So to recap, you have the best of both worlds. Your data is safe and you have the ownership that comes with like your data being hosted on a hard drive. So it's the best of both worlds.
Okay, I'm going to loop back to another question that Melanie had also had, but we'll loop back to that in a second. So let's go back to talking about Esther's question. She says, I can't find Jasmine's wallet. And what if I like that? What if I like that my wallet can't be found? What if there are people that are feeling that way about it too? So just in case, at the time that this episode drops, people go to jasminestar.eth and it's not there or whatever the case may be. What if people feel that way?
Right. Well, there is what's called pseudonymity right now on the blockchain, which is basically like, it's not completely anonymous, right? Because you can still see the data. It's just that you don't know who to tie it to. So as long as you are never doxing yourself, like you're never just saying, hey, this is my wallet address, you're pretty much safe from any prying eyes, unless you say you're going to purchase something and then we can see other wallets that purchase the same thing, right? Like you say like, today, guys, I'm going to buy a Bored Ape NFT. And then we see like, oh, someone bought a Bored Ape NFT today, and we'd be like, oh, that's got to be Jasmine. So you can like tie things together. But obviously Ethereum isn't the only place in the universe that you can transact.
That's true.
So there's also like other cryptocurrencies in existence that are like specifically built around privacy. One of them being Monero, which I am a huge fan of. Like their entire purpose is, with money, you should have like the power to spend your money how you wish, and no one should, be prying no one should be, infringing on your privacy. And basically in Monero, there is no way to know who is sending how much money to who, when, where. Like it's impossible to know where money is being sent around. So there are solutions out there for privacy. I would say Ethereum, though, pseudonymity is probably the most that any of us are going to need at the moment.
Okay. So speaking of my wallet, this past week, I added 5 things to my wallet. but it was, I know. Who am I? It was part of a strategy. So I follow a few Discords, Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, Gary's been, if I did not give a Gary shout out every episode, I don't know. I'm just not living my life. So I'm part of his Discord community. And inside of the Discord community, they were saying that you would be able to get access to his conference by investing in a different set of his NFTs called book games. Okay. So if you buy, and I'm just reading this, it feels like underground passing letters to each other. And they're like, if you buy 5 book game NFTs, and they had to be in these things called wooden frames, which, you guys, it sounds freaking weird. I know it sounds like a different language, but you buy 5 NFTs in a wooden frame, you would be able to burn those 5 wooden frames. So before I go on, Daniel, can you explain what burn means?
Yeah, basically a burn is essentially when you take a digital currency or digital NFT out of circulation. It basically just destroys it or holds it in a way that the rest of the network can't use that value. So essentially a burn, the way I would look at it is like a buyback. It's the best way I can put it.
Okay, so it's like a company buying back its own stock.
Exactly.
Okay. And so when JD had asked why I would want to burn, or why Gary would incentivize people to burn, does he just want like less of those particular book games, NFTs in circulation?
Exactly. So now there's actually less of these NFTs in circulation, therefore driving up the value of what's left.
Got it. Okay. So here is, at least preliminarily, and at the time of this recording, it actually hasn't happened because I've been following Discord and I feel very panicked. I'm following Discord, I'm following Twitter, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. The reason why I wanted to get 5 of these book games NFTs is because word on the street, according to Discord, is that you would be able to burn those 5 wooden frames and get access to the VCon conference. I want to get access to the VCon conference for JD. I have a Gary V1 friend. And so that gives me access to the conference. But because I'm an introvert and I don't like to go to large events, I'm like, JD, you have to come with me to this conference. I can't go alone. He even said, he's like, why don't you take Daniel? And I was like, bro, I was just like, I'm going to go into a new space and Daniel's going to know the language and I'm going to be that annoying friend to be like, take me with you. I don't speak to anybody. So I was like, at least the 2 of us can be like 2 dopes together. Yeah, that's a great sales pitch. I'm like, come with me to the conference. We could be dopes. But as of right now, I don't know what to do. So if somebody is in Discord, say in somebody else's Discord, and they're telling people to burn, does everybody burn the same way? Or is it like each community or each project has its own process?
Each community, each project is going to have their own process when it comes to how they burn. Like I was saying, Ethereum is a decentralized computer, and we get to run decentralized programs on that computer. And every project has its own program uploaded to this network, right? And Gary V is going to have what's called a smart contract. And so again, that's like a decentralized program. So everyone in his community is going to interact with this smart contract and tell it, hey, I want to burn this NFT. And that smart contract will know exactly what to do because it was programmed essentially to do that.
Got it. Okay. Did you hear that bubble in my throat?
Oh, no, you're all good.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. I was like, a straight bubble came up out of my throat. I was like, oh my God, I'm so, that's the beauty of doing these live podcasts. Okay. So when that happens, and I'm actually excited because if people see, because I would be posting on stories, if people see JD and I at VCon in May, they will have known that I successfully burned to get access to the conference in and of itself. All right. So can we talk about airdrops? Because last week I wanted to like tie things up real quick. Last week we explained what an airdrop was. Somebody had said in the chat when we were recording live, when they heard the word airdrop, it reminded them of Hunger Games when like you would get like a little gift dropped down to you. I said that an airdrop reminded me of like a stork gift. We also kind of defined them. Daniel had said it's like a gift, and we had kind of furthered that as more of like a dividend. You had invested in an NFT, and this is a creator's way of giving you something extra to say thank you as a form of value, almost like a dividend. Well, shortly after that, we'd recorded that podcast, Gary dropped word that if you are a VFriends version 1 holder, you were going to get airdropped a version 2. And that was really cool. So by April, I should have a VFriend 2 airdropped to my wallet. And if I hadn't gone through episode 4 with Daniel, I wouldn't even know what that is. So this is Gary's way of saying, hey, I've made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. This V2 is going to be a small thank you gift for holding your V1 friend. So very excited now that I actually understand the value of what's going on. I could speak to it. And I went to JD and I said, I'm getting a V2 dropped, airdropped. So I felt very like in the know. So Daniel, thank you for that. Okay. So now let's get into like a little bit of like the flash fire business stuff. What can NFTs be? Like what kind of content can it be?
Wait, really quick. I think there was one last part to Melanie's question.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Which, yeah, I mean, you can go over it real quick.
She's just way smart. So, okay. So for people who don't know, I keep on saying like Melanie, like, oh, who is this stranger who's listening to the podcast? Melanie has been my best friend since I was 14. I geeked out with her around NFTs. We were walking in Huntington Beach, California. She lives in New York City. And we said, let's just go by the beach. Let's be by the water. We walked for 2 hours and we were talking about investing and money. And I said, I'm kind of getting into this weird thing called crypto and NFTs. And she's like, I want to learn more about it. So I said, hey, I'm going to do this podcast series. This girl has been faithful. All 5 episodes turning up live and asking questions. And so this morning, the day that we're recording episode 5, I am up and I send her a video and I said, hey friend, it's 4:30. I'm recording podcast. We have another one coming up today. And she sends me some really smart questions. And I was like, hey, Daniel, my best friend is asking questions. So we need to make sure that they're prioritized. Lo and behold, they happen to be like really, really, really heady. So if you don't like these questions, take it up with Melanie. Okay. Question number 2 for Melanie. Let's go back and we're talking about like safety and security. So she asks, if these decentralized networks, right? We're talking about the interplanetary file system. If these decentralized networks are all contingent on users and they're not regulated by some governing body with established rules of engagement, what's to stop some fringe contingent of like splintering off and controlling it in a way that doesn't work for all of us anymore? Basically, she's asking about anarchy, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anarchy in Web3. Leave it to her. Her grandfather's a rocket science. Like her whole family's freaking brilliant. I was like, how are we friends? How are you asking these questions? And I'm like, so what's a burn, Daniel? Okay, let's dive into the smart kids questions.
All right. Yeah. So there's a lot going on with this question, but I mean, the first part for me, I want to go over is like the distinction between like, our day-to-day lives and the virtual world. So in the real world, we have like laws, right? And we have to follow these laws, but you could almost argue that pretty much any law in the real world is unenforceable because, you can say, hey, you're not allowed to drive on the left side of the road. But I mean, I could very well decide in the next 10 minutes to hop in my car and drive on the left side of the road. And I mean, that can go very poorly for me, but nevertheless, there's nothing actually stopping me from doing it. Now, in the virtual world, we have the law of code and the law of math. Like these are things that strictly prohibit an action from actually taking course. Like, if I were to take like the virtual, like if I were to transpose that idea of like driving on the left side of the road and put that in a virtual context, like in a game, right? If a game says you're not allowed to drive on the left side of the road, you will not be able to drive on the left side of the road. The game will prohibit it. It's the actual law of the code. So there's that first point. Second point is so now let's just say people disagree on what those rules should be, right? Because again, these are open communities. There's discourse about what the laws should be in the same way that like we have, litigators and senators and people that are going to discuss laws. So in that same way, we have people that are in the community and say, you know what? I think people should be able to only send at least 2 Ethereum. Anyone who wants to send less than 2 Ethereum, they just can't use the network. Let's just say that's something that people want to say, right? The only way something like that can happen is by a majority consensus. So basically over 51%.
51% of who?
Of the entire network, of all nodes on the network. And nodes, again, if you remember some of our earlier conversations, nodes are people on the network that are keeping track of the transactions. Remember, we're talking about everyone has an Excel sheet.
Yes.
Exactly.
So 51% of the nodes need to agree upon a new rule.
Exactly.
What is the likelihood of that?
It's happened many times in the past. Basically, okay. If people say, you know, this is like a new idea that we want to build, and we want the community to get behind this. And if everyone agrees on it, then we move forward with it. And there's a word for it, and it's called a hard fork or a soft fork. And so these forks are basically when I like to look at it as like, you have like Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at the way it's evolved over the millennia, right, you had just Catholicism. And then after that, it kind of like splintered off into different religions. And then you have like Protestants and all kinds of other groups. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happens when there's disagreements, right? When people say, right, I think this cannot be what it is. So that's a hard fork when two communities actually split because they can't agree on something. And then a soft fork is when the community agrees, yes, this is still good for, you know, the blockchain. This is still good for our network. And to me, I look at it as like how the Catholic Church has maybe like reinterpreted something from the Bible. Like maybe back then they thought one way about some concept, but today they're maybe a little bit more lenient about that concept.
Got it. Okay. So number one, there's math rules. That if in a video game or in math, it says you can't drive on the left side of the road, there is something actually stopping you from driving on the left side of the road. And then point number two is that 51% of the nodes have to agree that a change must be made. And if a change must be made, they will decide if it's a soft fork, like a reinterpretation, or a hard fork, a distinct division of how things are done.
Exactly.
Okay. So I don't know why this keeps on coming up for me, and why out of all my collegiate experience do I remember this of all things. Like I took a class, and in this class, a sociology class, there was this theory called the Panopticon Theory, is that we behave a certain way because we feel we're being watched. So the more we're being watched, the more we would behave. So they looked at it as like, they gave like an analogy of a circular prison. If there's a lot of prison guards looking down, the inmates act better. Now, if there's nobody watching them, it's leading to mayhem. And it's a philosophy that some people agree or disagree with. It's neither here nor there. But when I think about this idea in relation to the Panopticon, like people cannot misbehave because it must be agreed on in advance of. Are we getting too heady? Like, is this going to be like, oh my gosh.
I'm loving it.
Okay. Our podcast producer says, so Christy's our podcast producer and her husband Addison edits our podcast. So it's very much like a family deal. So Christy writes, Addison and I talk about this all the time when we try to get pictures of pets. It changes their behavior when we record them. Of course, we all behave differently when we think we're being watched. So it's neither here nor there. But although I think this is what we went back to in episode 1, we want transparency. People want to know who's saying what and why. And then we want to make sure that the people who are responsible for storing this data are fully transparent. Okay, great. Now that we have that, what can NFT, now a new question is, what can NFTs be? Like what kind of content can it be?
Yeah, so pretty much anything that is media can be your content. Many people tend to think that NFTs are just limited to images, but it can be videos, images, audio, even websites. I have seen NFTs that in that little box on OpenSea, instead of seeing an image, you'll see an interactive website. And I think that's pretty cool. It just brings like an extra element to like the engagement that you can get on an NFT.
Yeah. Can I give an example of something like Daniel had said, any type of media can be an NFT, but you know, here we go again. I'm talking about Gary. Gary created an NFT with a series of restaurateurs, and they call it the Fly Fish Club. He was selling an NFT. Remember how we had said in episode 4, like an NFT is basically a contract, but it's a contract that can be resold. And we gave the example of a country club. You can resell this contract to a country club in Web3, But in current day, like if I bought access to the Newport Beach Country Club, I couldn't sell that. I would have to pay my monthly dues. I would get the benefits of being that. And then after I wanted to stop it, nothing else would happen. In Web3, I could sell access. I could sell that contract. Well, Gary believes in this so much that he created Fly Fish Club, which is a group of restaurateurs. And if you buy the NFT to the Fly Fish Club, you get access to those restaurants. But the only people who can go to those restaurants are the people who have the Fly Fish NFT. This is no longer like what media can you buy? It essentially becomes a country club amongst restaurants, so that when you're dining at that restaurant, you know how much other people are paying just to be in the restaurant. And demand for it has just blown up, so much so that if you had bought a Fly Fish NFT, you would be able to sell it today and make, I think they had said 3 or 4x return, which is just crazy. So this is not just, oh, what is it for media? This is, how can you think about a contract in relation to what it is that you sell? So I would throw out, and I know this is really premature, terrible case use, terrible. Maybe not. If you are hypothetically a portrait photographer and you work with luxury families and you have worked so hard at building out your personal brand, the luxury experience, and you decide, I will only work with 10 families a year, period. I document all of your events. And in order to buy this NFT to be exclusive as part of these 10 clients, you would pay X for this NFT. And then over time, that family, if your demand, let's say that you get featured in the biggest magazines and you start writing books and have a coffee table book and demand for your work, more families want to work with you, but you say, I'm so sorry, you must have an NFT to work with me. There could be a family. Let's say the Guerra family wants to sell it to the Della Torre family. Well, the Guerra family bought in early when this new portrait photographer was just starting. And then over time, the photographer started getting a lot more demand. They could sell that NFT to work exclusively with that photographer. Do I understand that right, Daniel?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I like to look at it as like the tokenization of believing in early concepts, early movements, early creators, right? I was just thinking about this the other day. I was yesterday night, I was at a concert, and it was my favorite band of all time. And I started following them.
Who's the band? We have to know now.
They're called the Backseat Lovers. They still not many people know them.
Okay.
But they are a lot bigger than they used to be. When I first started following them, they had like maybe 3,000 streams on their Spotify.
Okay.
And so like, I don't even know how I fell on them, but ended up listening to them and I was like, I love their music. I ended up going to their first concert in LA. And it was like me and a few friends, and there was a few other people at like the bar. And it was honestly like one of the best nights of my life. Like I got to have like a front row seat listening to some amazing music. And I went to their second concert and their third. And so I just went to their fourth that they had in LA last night. And it was great. And they filled an entire, like I've gone to that same venue in the past for much bigger artists, and they filled like the entire venue.
Wow.
But I thought to myself, like, had they like had an NFT, I think I would have made a whole lot of money.
Right. Right. Because the NFT would have to give some sort of access or closeness. Do I understand it that an NFT could potentially give you closeness? So it's like you invest in an NFT early on, so much so that like if you go to subsequent concerts, you would be able to get like green room access or seats saved specifically for this particular NFT type holder. Now there was a comment that was left like, sorry, not sorry for sounding like a communist. Okay, we won't like, sorry for not sounding like a communist, but this country club-esque access sounds so elitist. Am I crazy? Well, I think there's a juxtaposition, right? Like because Daniel just spoke about Backseat Lovers, and that wasn't elitist. In fact, they were no names. And for him, it was less about being elite as it was appreciation of the artist. Daniel, what do you have to say in regards to that?
Yeah, I actually think the tokenization of a lot of our interactions, of like the creators we follow, of the organizations we find ourselves part of, could actually be leverages for wealth. I look at it like, again, if you are following a creator and you feel like these guys are bound to, really explode, right? and you bought into their NFT really early on, I think it's the complete opposite of a communist thing. It actually, you might end up making a whole lot of money because you got in on something. It's like, imagine you bought an NFT for the Beatles before they were the Beatles.
Mhm.
I mean, you would have something that I would almost say is priceless. Like, you got in on something way earlier before anyone else. I like to look at it like you bought stock in Tesla, 10 years ago when everyone thought it was a car company that was going to fail. And now everyone's looking at you like, damn, you got a whole lot of Tesla stock, and here I am getting in at this really expensive price.
So, hello, democracy. So in addition to that, I actually think that there's some business capabilities here. If there was a gym that had opened nearby and they sold an NFT as access, I would be the first person in line. Here's why. I can go to Equinox down the street. I could pay my one-time initiation fee and then pay a monthly fee thereafter. But as long as I am paying my monthly fee, Equinox is not incentivized to do anything different or better. They're selling me the status quo. So case in point, there is a particular Equinox just not too far from my house, and they haven't made, I would talk, they've probably made zero improvements in the last 5 years. Same machines, same classes. It's lovely, but nothing has been improved. Now, if Equinox had decided to sell an NFT to me, it would be in their best interest to say, as access to this NFT, there's limited amounts of NFT, which is an incentivization for me because there's less people at the gym, which is something that I appreciate. It also is incentivizing Equinox to make sure that every machine is brand new and every bathroom stall is clean. Why? We want demand to go there. So much so that after 2 years, if I don't want to have my NFT for Equinox anymore, I could sell it. In my mind, I would still be working out. I would be choosing a gym, period. But now that this gym is offering me the ability for an NFT as a point of differentiation, I would always choose that one. It's less about exclusivity as it is, hey, there is a business who's making a lot of money. Me as the consumer of the business, if I have an opportunity to win alongside the business, I am going to choose that business over any other business because I'm going to be spending money, period. Why not invest it in a company that will give me back something in return? And then if I had an NFT to Equinox, you best believe on my social stories, I would be like, at Equinox, it's so great here. Loving the clean bathrooms. Look at the new machine. Why? I have vested interest now. I'm going to beat that marketing drum because I want my investment to pay back. Very different philosophy of how we show up for a business. I'm sorry, I'm on a rant.
No, I'm right there with you.
Oh, okay. So no, it's not communist. Okay, let's dive into a couple other questions. Like, look at me throwing the shade. What type of businesses should sell NFTs? Photographers, graphic designers, artists, musicians. What about atypical businesses?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, in the next few questions, go over like some ideas, but for now, I want to say, when a business owner needs, when you're thinking of an NFT project, you as a business owner, you need to sit down and think about how you can properly fill this niche in the NFT space. And does it match your business? What are the goals? Why are you considering NFTs for your business? Is there a traditional route that would be better suited for your business? Don't just like chase an NFT simply because they're all the rage and you want to get in on the hype. Do what's right for your product and your service. So, silver lining here is, you as a business owner need to sit down, ask, is it right for me? And if so, what's the best way I could position myself to add the most value to this
But how do
community?
they know if it's right for them?
Right. So like that's where the brainstorming
questions, like what questions could somebody ask right now?
Right. Like, trying to think of it, like, for example, if you're a photographer, and I mean, I would argue that being a photographer is, I mean, probably one of the best things I can say to do in the NFT space, right? Like, you are working in media versus like if you are a lawyer, there's a little bit of more of a thing to inspect there. You can still find ways to, become part of the NFT ecosystem as a lawyer. Maybe like, I think one of our previous
Right.
listeners was telling us that they ended up adding NFTs into one of their documents that they were building for a client, which was awesome. Like, it was part of, their legal process. But for something like, if you're trying to like add value to a business, if you're trying to like boost your marketing to your business, and incentivize your community, like, I could see a photographer, or generally creators is where I'm looking at. And for that, I would say, ask yourself, what is the piece of your art that your audience is craving the most? What is the thing that, like, I would even go as far as to say, like, look at your Instagram posts, see what has the most likes. Is it like the posts where, you're doing portraits or landscape pictures? And then you can go from there and figure out, like, what is the thing that my community loves? And how can I make this an exclusive NFT? And how can I add perks to that my audience would be interested in taking part in?
Can I ask a question and then you just rip it to shreds?
Absolutely. I won't rip it to shreds, but I'll answer it.
I want you to. I love it. I learn more. I hate saying this because it's like the universe is going to throw it my way. It's like, make life more difficult. I learn more when I'm wrong, and I learn more when I don't get it. And so by you ripping it to shreds, I think that's the kindest thing that a friend could do to like my thoughts or questions. So having said that, when you had said, I'm not quite sure how it would be for a lawyer. And I'm like, number one, law school dropout. And then number two, if I was a lawyer. So I always like to play the game of, can I make it work? So if I was a lawyer and I saw the NFT space, could I, in your opinion, I'm going to present to you, I'm a lawyer and I want to sell a series of 100 NFTs. And as part of the NFT, they are eligible for 4 hours of billable time. Absolutely. And so when that NFT holder transacts on those 4 hours of time, that over time, if my business increases and there's more demand, my hourly rate, my billable hourly rate can change from $125 to perhaps $160 throughout the duration of somebody holding an NFT. So a client, after having rendered 4 hours of billable time, could sell their NFT to another business associate, and whatever the difference would be for the value of that NFT, I would get a royalty if I baked that into my contract, and then the new user would get access to 4 billable hours at a higher rate. What about that?
You can definitely do that. You could even go a step further and actually to like use those 4 hours. Maybe you have to burn the NFT to be able to actually redeem those 4 hours. Now you've actually taken 4 hours out of that pool, and now you're left with even less hours in that pool that people can, get a consultation.
Right. But then what about if I had that NFT and I wanted to use the 4 hour as a client and wanted to use those 4 hours with you as my lawyer, and then I burn it? Like, I'm not selling anything thereafter.
Yeah. Thereafter, there is nothing left. So there's just different ways that you can monetize it. There's different settings that you can play with.
Okay. And so the goal here, like, let's just still stay in the game that I am a lawyer and I want to use NFTs. Like, the main thing would be to continue to cultivate those relationships with my current clients so that they want to hang on to their NFTs and they want to pass it off to somebody else, and they look as a form of exclusivity, so that as my career changes as a lawyer, let's just say that I become a rainmaker for some big law firm, or let's say that I take on this massive case so that my personal brand as a lawyer is in media. More people are going to want to work with me, but the value of the NFT from that original holder is going to increase based on demand because I only work with people who have an NFT. How's that?
Absolutely. That's like, that brings me back to the artist thing. It's like, you believed in this lawyer before they ended up getting that huge case, and now everyone wants to work with them.
But beyond that, as a consumer, if a lawyer came to me and said, okay, I want to work. So Social Curator, we decided to choose a law firm. Now, this is a law firm on demand only, but they're going to be handling all legal components, from anything from employee to contracts, things of that nature. But we decided to work with them and we signed a letter of intent, and it's only for work rendered. If there was a law agent, whoa, come on. If there was a lawyer who came to me and said, sign this letter of intent, purchase an NFT, and you're eligible for up to 4 hours, I would all day, every day choose that lawyer, because on the off chance that this lawyer's value increases over time, there's a win in it for me. I would be paying the same for a lawyer for 4 hours over here and a lawyer for 4 hours over here. But in one of those cases, there is the opportunity for me to make more money if I decide to sell the NFT. I think that this is the space where people are going to start dwelling in a different way, shape, and form.
Absolutely. I can totally see that.
Wow. I just came up with that right now. I'm so interested.
Well, it really is a testament to show that there is so many applications for it. Like, I always end up going speculative with it. I'm like, well, people can speculate on your value. And it's like, and then you, like, business minded, you come in and you're like, well, this could be a great way to, like, secure clients, build networks. And so absolutely, it is really so many applications here.
But this goes back to this goes back to the thing that I have always been saying since episode 1, is that there is a space for business owners, but there's this more of a space for operators. There is a difference. If you have a business, you are a business owner, but not all business owners are operators. What is an operator? An operator understands the product, like what it is that you're selling. So if you're a life coach, you know, you could sell coaching, but it goes beyond that. It's the marketing, letting people know about your business. It's the sales, AKA what is somebody going to be spending for an NFT? It is the branding, the community that you're building. Listen, the NFT space is the business world, which is why I'm just being so careful with the NFTs that I am investing in, because I want to know, I don't want to invest in an artist. I want to invest in an artist who's an operator. I want to invest in a lawyer who's an operator. I want to invest in a gym with the CEO as an operator. But again, I know that I'm very, very, very early in this curve. I think people are going to catch up and understand what this means in a couple of years. All right, let's get into another question. How could I create NFTs for my business?
Right. So we went over just the first step here, but so I have like a bit of an outline, and it might be overwhelming for some people, and that's totally okay. It's a lot. And I mean, starting any project, like an NFT project, is going to be daunting for pretty much anyone. I know even sometimes I like think about it like, oh, I could like, I'm able to program, I'm able to build my own collection. And then it's like, oh, but wait, there is so much more than just what I know that, gets built into an NFT project, because it's so multifaceted, right? There's the tech part, there's the marketing part, there's the community building part. Mm-hmm. There are so many parts. But let's start with the brainstorming. So you got to brainstorm a concept first. Like, how does this fit into my brand? What is my network going to get out of this? And figuring out how to position it in your monetary model for your business. So that's what we were talking about just a second ago, right? Like, how do we fit this into like a lawyer's firm? So brainstorm your concept. Next, get your content together. Figure out like, what is the media that's going to be surrounding this NFT project? Is it images, videos, websites, contracts, whatever it is? Figure out what your content is and make it appealing. Formalize your perks after that. So, like we were saying, well, I actually have a few ideas for perks. I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to go over that in a second. Okay. So formalize your perks. Get a roadmap. A roadmap is like one of the most useful things you can do. I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day. I think it's an interesting idea in general, even outside of the NFT world. Having roadmaps, or even outside of businesses too, having roadmaps, I think, provides a sense of transparency, shows people where you're trying to go with the brand or business or idea, and kind of lets everyone in on the secret. Like, oh, I know if I'm getting in now, I know in a year or so, they're going to have this thing that's going to be built. So roadmaps are a great way to show like where you're headed, and people knowing that if they want to go in on that ride with you. Next is building a marketing plan from there. And you can probably speak a lot more to that than I can. But figuring out how are you reaching people, what channels are you reaching them out to them, and how are you going to find leads? And then setting a launch date, figuring out when's going to be the best day to do this. And then finally, uploading to OpenSea, getting everything up there, and getting ready for your launch.
This is basically, it's a business plan. Like,
it's a full business plan.
When I looked at Daniel's outline, this is truly a business plan. So earlier I had mentioned that I was chatting with my best friend very early this morning about recording podcast. And one of the podcasts that I recorded this morning was, if you have a business idea, here's how to start your business. And honestly, Daniel, it's like almost mirrored. Mine was like a 5-step start your business program or like advice. And yours is 7-step, but it's the same thing. And it goes back to, you're building a business. Your NFT project is not just a fire way to make money. It's, you're building a business. So, okay. So let's chat about a few ideas. Now that we have these 7 steps, from brainstorming a concept to uploading to OpenSea, give us a few ideas.
Absolutely. So this is mostly focused on perks, right? Like, how are you going to incentivize people to become a part of your community? One of them is ownership and dividends, right? We were talking about airdrops. An example that comes to mind for me is like artists providing fans a slice of their royalties in their songs. Like there are some artists now, buy my NFT and you're going to get like some percentage of every dollar that I make off of this song. So, but for the artist, they're getting an upfront investment in their music that allows them to build their album. And now they're able to release their album at no extra cost to themselves.
Oh my God. Okay. So then this idea, so this is like let me see if I can make it happen. If I am a musical artist and I am saying, buy my NFT and you will get a sliver of whatever percentage of the profits, that would incentivize my community who has the NFT to go out and make TikToks and reels using my music to increase the opportunity for it to trend. Because if it trends, it immediately, within hours, becomes one of the highest downloaded songs on any streaming platform, thus securing the bag for you.
Absolutely.
And the artist. Whoa, that's amazing.
Yep. You turn your fans into marketers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Whoa.
Yeah, so that's how I want to position a lot of this stuff is you're trying to find a way to mobilize your network, even outside of like being an artist, right? You want to find a way to have your group of people that are here to support you, and you want to turn them outward and get them to, help you with outreach, help with brand. So there's definitely a lot to be, and I think NFTs in general kind of like help expedite that process, or they've helped formalize the process. It's like almost like affiliates in a regular business, but
dude, affiliates, like that's 100% what it is. You're creating a micro band of affiliates who want you to win, because in the process of you winning, they win too. Now, here's the thing. It's not disingenuous, because we know that people would follow and support artists A, B, or C. And they might support them all in the same ways, with the exception is if artist A offered an NFT. If artist A offered an NFT, that means that me, with my streaming habits, with my sharing habits, with my posting habits, I would be more incentivized to tell people how often I am listening to artist A, because by doing so, even though I love all three of them equally, by doing so, there is an inherent incentive for me as part of that community and NFT holder. Okay, so, I like this question. This is popping in live. So what would happen if NFTs were sold with the promise of some future payoff? Like you'll get some sort of physical product in a year, and then the product never comes to fruition. Did you just bet on the wrong horse?
That is an interesting concept. I was actually just talking about that with our CTO, Jake, about last week. I was telling him an idea, and I'll just say right on here, the idea is a sort of GoFundMe that's decentralized. And everyone puts money into a GoFundMe for, let's say, a new company idea or some new creative adventure that someone is trying to start. And we have decentralized programs now, right? Because of Ethereum. This decentralized program could hold elections for the people that have, invested in this organization, right? So you can say, 30 people have invested in this project, but if all 30 people vote that this project isn't going the way that they like, they can pull their money out of the project maybe. So it's like, it's in a pot, and us as a community, we can withdraw our funding if we feel that the founders have done us wrong or are not delivering on their promises. The way I like to look at it is there has been problems in the past with like Indiegogo, GoFundMe, where people will invest millions of dollars into these startups, and it turns out they were complete scams. So like anywhere you look on the internet, decentralized or not, there's always going to be scams. And the best thing you can do is find ways to make it difficult to do that. And the way I see it being difficult is people will invest in a project because they believe in it, and those funds are slowly dripped out to the founders. But if the founders aren't delivering and hitting their milestones on their roadmap, then people can hold an election and remove all the funding and recoup at least the majority of their investment. So that's like my long rant about like what I hope the internet will become and how I hope there will be decentralized products out there for crowdfunding. But when it comes to like a single NFT project, Absolutely. If they're giving you a digital item with the promise of a physical item, like I was saying, it's in the real world and it's unenforceable. Anything in the real world is unenforceable. If you want something that you're going to be guaranteed, stick to digital. Digital is the only thing that won't let you down.
So there's a couple of things that come into mind. And in a way, I agree with Daniel, but maybe my black heart will be exposed. And I just think like the more work that you do to figure out who's running the project, the more it would hold you accountable to being responsible. If I had invested in NFT on the promise that I would get something physical and then I didn't get anything, I wouldn't hold them accountable. I would hold myself accountable. I should have done the work to believe that this person's going to deliver, because I look at investing in as an NFT as literally investing in a business. If for some reason I decide today to go buy 100 shares of Amazon and then tomorrow Amazon decides to close its stores, that's the way real life works. Like nobody's holding anybody else accountable. The minute the money leaves your bank account or your digital wallet, it's no longer yours. And so if you only want to invest in projects where it would slowly dole out the money, that's great. Wait for that project to happen. But I think that it's like when you invest in NFTs, it's kind of like, bless it. Like you hope that it's going to come back in a bigger way for you. But anyway, I loved that question. I know people are saying that it's scary, but like, I don't know. Like you buy, like, so let's just say, I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. Let's stick with the questions and let's get into it. Okay, so a few ideas were ownership, dividends, like giving fans a slice of a percentage of royalties of their songs. We're seeing young artists do that. Talk about perks. Like what are the perk ideas?
Absolutely. So one of them could be like giving 3 months of coaching. I think you and I were talking about this actually, the VeeFriends, part of like the whole like appeal for it was that you are going to get some FaceTime with Gary Vee in some way, shape, or form.
Well, at a conference. I wouldn't call it like FaceTime, but well, yeah, I would feel like I'm closer to him in proximity than I am like from his iPhone to my iPhone. But yeah, it's not one-on-one.
What about like the really expensive NFTs on his project? What do those get you?
Oh, like, yeah. The really expensive NFTs. It's called like the FaceTime. I think it's like the FaceTime Hawk or something like that.
Ooh, wow.
Where, yeah, you buy an NFT and then once a year for 5 minutes, you get to FaceTime with Gary. Or they have like the basketball bumblebee or something. It's like once a year you get to play in a 5-on-5 tournament with Gary and the other basketball holders. Like there's also like I don't know, it's like the podcasting parrot or something. You buy this NFT and you guarantee that for the first 5 years, Gary will come on your podcast once. And so it's like what Gary in Gary's first iteration, he charged a lot more for access. So you would be able, when they launched in May of 2021, like you would be able to buy very simple NFTs just to be part of the project. But each NFT got more and more expensive the closer you got to Gary. The more time that you got with Gary, the more expensive it would be. So tiered accessibility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As perks.
Yeah, that's exactly it. To kind of summarize it, it's any kind of like time commitment that you're getting from the creator is like, that's what I would summarize this perk as, is like a time commitment. Like we were talking about lawyers earlier, like having a 4-hour consultation. Like that would be like a time commitment in exchange for purchasing this NFT.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I had heard from the Bored Ape Yacht Club is that one of the perks of owning a Bored Ape is like they're going to be building a physical like Bored Ape club in Miami. So if you own a Bored Ape or a Bored Ape derivative, I think they have like the Bored Ape alien or like the dog is an alien or something like that. I don't know.
There's like so much going on there.
There's all of these derivatives because right now on average, like Bored Ape is around $250,000. So the Bored Ape, they're building an actual edifice. So the only people who can get in are people who own a Bored Ape NFT. So it's, for all intents and purposes, it is a private country club for people who can afford to get in the door. That is like massive networking opportunities. And so that became a perk for owning the Bored Ape in and of itself. That is a physical perk for a digital offering. Another perk that you had mentioned, you had said like podcast episodes. Like, what do you mean?
That was actually something Christy and I were talking about. Like, hint, hint. Podcast episodes could be turned into NFTs.
How so? What do you mean?
You can literally, because again, a podcast is a sort of media. So, I mean, there's going to be a video file for this or an audio file for this. Christy just said, screw Patreon. Exactly.
Oh.
So we can, for example, take this podcast, get the audio or the video of it, and put it behind an NFT. And now you own episode 5 of the Crypto Curious podcast. And now, obviously, we still have to go through like that roadmap or that business plan we were talking about just a few minutes ago, where it's like, great, I mean, you own an episode, but what does that really mean? Does that mean you get coaching calls with Jasmine? Does that mean that you get 15 minutes every month to, get a consultation on your NFT project? Things along those lines, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
if I let's just say that I wanted to sell an NFT from the Crypto Curious series, right? Let's say I do that. But the reason why somebody would want to invest in it, and I'm asking a question, but so the reason why somebody might want to invest in that is if I had a roadmap to say, like, I'm having episodic series on the podcast with the goal of being acquired by Spotify in 2027 for $270 million. That would thus increase the value of the NFT from this early episodic series over time, because people would want that as being like a marker, a thing.
Absolutely. It's like buying in early into the community.
Wow.
Which actually brings me back even to the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? People that got in early on that are, I mean, first of all, like massively seeing their returns, but they're able to go to exclusive events. And like you were saying, your network is your net worth. So I like to see it as like, oh, I'm investing in my network. I'm investing in like the people that I'm able to now reach by being part of this club. So there's definitely perks in podcast episodes. There's perks in events. Another one is selling lessons. Maybe you have a course, but there's only like maybe 10 people that are going to get this exclusive course, because maybe it holds industry secrets that if too many people caught on, it would dilute the method. But now you as a creator, you're able to sell something at a much higher price. And although you're not going to have as many people that are going to be part of this lesson, you're going to have a smaller community that's going to get a whole lot of value and maybe turn it into like very viable businesses.
Okay. So Flashfire, lastly, to tie things up.
All right.
How will it become more accessible? Like, does somebody need a developer to do the thing that we're proposing to do as part of business?
So the trend I've always seen with these technologies is that they always become more accessible as mainstream interest grows. I remember a time when it was incredibly difficult to purchase cryptocurrencies. Like it's crazy. Now you can buy crypto within seconds, like from your phone. Right. And this like would have knocked my socks off like 5 years ago. I remember like, I was like, oh, I have to pull out my computer and go to some shady website and get some cryptocurrency. And it's like, here we are today. We have like very secure ways of purchasing cryptocurrency. There's so much ease of use. And a good chunk of people know like what a Bitcoin is. And so it's very easy to kind of like transition into this space now. But it's not going to be easy for everyone, right? Because right now you kind of do need a developer depending on the complexity of your project. If it's as simple as just like, oh, my NFT project is everyone gets an image. I'm a photographer and everyone just gets to own my image. That's the extent of my project. That could work for some people. For others, it probably won't, because there's not enough of a community behind that or perks behind that. And that's when like developers come in, and maybe it means that anyone that has purchased an NFT is getting ownership in something digitally. They're getting money or dividends in advance or in perpetuity. So yes, developers at the moment can be very useful for a project.
Okay, so are there NFT investors, advisors? Like, what are the ecosystems?
Right, there are NFT advisors. I really can't speak to their effectiveness just yet, though, since they're so new and they don't really have much of a track record, and there is a lot to sift through. There are a lot of people out there that maybe aren't as successful as they try to make it seem like they are. There's always going to be like that slick snake oil salesman out there, no matter where you go.
Daniel, I just got an idea. This is how it happens.
What is it?
Oh, what if, I mean, obviously not now, but the part of, have you ever watched Shark Tank?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Love
So
that show.
part of the lure of Shark Tank is that not only do you get the shark, you get the shark's team to come in and fill in all of the gaps and deploy against strategies that traditionally small business owners can't with their own bandwidth. What if in the future we create our own Shark Tank? So we look at other NFT projects and we're like, you have something cool here. Let us walk you through, like, we're going to help build your community and we're going to build the roadmap and we're going to do this. And then we take a piece, we take equity.
Jasmine, that's it. You guys are hearing it right now on this podcast. It's happening.
I mean, I have always dreamed of being a shark. You have no like David, John, Mark Cuban. I saw Mark Cuban once when we were on vacation and he was staying at the same place and we were working out at the gym. Well, actually he was working out and I was like sipping a margarita by the pool, but he was doing this outdoor cycle bike. And I tried just getting and like taking a selfie with like Mark behind me because I wanted to be like, one day, Mark, one day I'm going to be on the shark panel. And now I'm going to be like, one day you're going to wish to sit on this NFT shark project.
Yeah. Well, to be NFT style about it, maybe we're not sharks, maybe we're apes and you're part of the ape house.
I love it. Listen, I just couldn't think of a better way to close the series of just ideation, having fun, dreaming big. And that was the entire purpose of this 5-part Crypto Curious series. We wanted people to get off the fence and just try things. We wanted people to create a wallet. We wanted people to surf OpenSea. We wanted people to perhaps check out Discord. We wanted people to start following different influencers in this space on Instagram or Twitter. We just wanted to create a familiarity so it didn't feel foreign. Because when something feels foreign or different, we have a tendency of being afraid. I don't want people to be afraid of this space. I want them to be curious about this space, which is why this episodic series is called Crypto Curious. Daniel, I've never in the history of the Jasmine Star Show had a co-host. I want to say thank you for making this adventure. And if you would be interested in coming back for crypto conversations, nothing would make me happier.
Absolutely. I have totally enjoyed making this with you. And I can't wait for some fireside chats with crypto conversations.
Yes. Maybe we'll bring people. I actually was thinking, I was already ideating because that's just what I do. It's like, what if we bring different people in and then you and I have conversations from 2 different perspectives? Like I definitely like bent towards the business side and you are actually like in the game. How can people stay connected with you after this series? Like, where do you want people to connect with you? Is it Twitter, Instagram? What's your jam?
I do have a few places. So on Instagram, it's just my full name, just Daniel Divenere. So that's Daniel and then Divenere. On Twitter, I actually go by Electric Realm, which is a much fancier. It's like my NFT name. Actually,
it's your alter ego.
It's my alter ego. You know, if you want to check out my wallet, it's electricrealm.eth. There it is.
I love it. Okay, we're gonna bring. Or did you have anything else?
Well, I just have one parting thought, which is everything we've gone over these past few episodes. This is really just the beginning. It is like the few stepping stones that I want everyone to, this is like a foundational podcast. And I just want people to know, if you're confused, anything like that, of course, you can definitely reach out to me. You can probably reach out to Jasmine. I don't want to speak for her, but I know you can reach out to me. And you can always ask questions. But if there's one thing I ask for anyone that's even made it this far, which first of all, congrats. I want to say, keep learning. And take this knowledge with you and use it as a tool. And I can't wait to see what everyone's going to build with this.
Thank you so much. Christy, I'm going to bring you on. Do a last minute tie up.
I just love Daniel so much.
I know, we all do. Like
Jasmine and I are like the Daniel fan club.
We are. You could be vice president because I'm the president. Oh, okay.
No, that's how you pronounced your last name, Daniel. When you said it, I was like, oh, okay. All right. So for the recap today, we answered a lot of listener questions in the beginning, which is amazing because I think it's just so wonderful that we actually had questions. That means that some people are listening. So it was really, really lovely. But we won't go through all of those nitty-gritty kind of questions. But the biggest thing that I took away here is that NFTs can be literally anything. Like videos, images, audio, websites, podcasts, like literally anything, which really opens up the possibilities for many business owners. Like I know going into this conversation, I personally didn't know that an NFT could be anything but an image. And it occurred to me, oh, like if it can be anything, this can work for any business owner. Like we talked about, artists and musicians could release their art and photographers can release their art, but like atypical businesses like can do anything that could have media and provide value to their audience, they can make an NFT, which is really, really amazing. So creating NFTs for your business, we actually like outlined the step-by-steps that Daniel's 7-step framework. We outlined that in the NFT checklist, which you could get at jasminestar.com/NFT checklist. That step-by-step framework is there for you, as well as places for you to take notes. And yeah, I just think in general, like there's just so much that I've learned throughout this series. Like I personally feel comfortable like buying an NFT and opening my wallet and doing all those things. Well, I did open my wallet. That's all I've done so far. But I personally feel comfortable doing all of those things. And I went into it not knowing anything. So kudos to you guys. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom and all of your knowledge. This was really, really wonderful. It was really fun to be a part of.
Thanks, Chris. And thank you for producing a fabulous series. We appreciate all of your hard work. Y'all, thank you for tuning into the Jasmine Star Show. Thank you for going on these adventures with us. We would love to hear your feedback. Like always, you could hit us up, send us a DM, or you could reach out to podcast@jasminestar.com. Y'all have a blessed day. Take care.